Shams yesterday. Quote, Warriors and president of basketball operations Bob Myers have had no substantial contract extension talks in months, and the sides are bracing for the likelihood that Myers could walk away from the franchise. Go ahead, because Shams is a newsbreaker. I want you to go ahead and do a little translation sensation for me.
Okay.
Tell me what Shams just broke, because he wrote the word sauces. We got sauces.
Yeah.
And then there's a column, right? And then here come the words. What did Shams just report?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. That is a correct answer. Ding to the ding ding.
What he reported was
ding.
The one piece I think is an interesting notion that the two sides haven't talked about the contract in months. And if that's factual, then that is, I think, some reportage according to sources. If that's a fact, that's a thing. But then the other piece of it, which is the Warriors could be bracing for Bob's departure. Well, yes, Shams.
Yeah, they
could, they should, and they are possibly bracing for his departure.
They're bracing. They are potentially doing something that could potentially happen. They're potentially doing something to get ready for something that could potentially happen. I'm here to tell you that it potentially won't. That's not my report. I've got more than that. Let me ask you this. If the Warriors and Bob Myers have not had substantial contract extension talks in months, do you think that that's relevant?
Yes.
Why?
I do. Because if they had substantial contract talks, then a contract would have been either reached or not reached. And to me, you're not looking at Bob Myers in terms of should we or shouldn't we. It's a question of how much. Now, if it's a question of how much, I believe that Joe Lacob is a guy who values Bob Myers to the point where he would not lowball Bob Myers. I don't think that Bob would not take the job based on a contract offer. I think that if Bob decides that he doesn't want the job, it's because he doesn't want the job. I don't think it's because Joe Lacob said, how about 3 years and $17,000?
I think that you are very much on the right track. The reason I do not find it relevant that the Warriors and Bob Myers have not had substantial contract extension talks in months is because Bob asked them at the beginning of the season to not have substantial contract talks in months. What did he say to you and I right there at Chase Center right before the season started? What did he say?
He said, I encourage fans to just enjoy this year. And the emphasis was on this year. And Bob even went so far as to say, don't worry about future years or this and that or Jordan Poole or Draymond or Steph and any of it, Steve Kerr. Just focus on this year. So I do believe you're right in terms of Bob Myers' mentality, but there was plenty of opportunity between then and now for Joe to say, hey, Bob, you want $40 million over 3? Sure, Joe, I'd love it.
Okay, so here's what I will say. I do think that that Bob Myers' future is very much tied to Draymond, Steph, and Clay. I do think that it made sense for him to wait and see how they did this year. How did those three play? How did the season go? Bob has said the whole time, I want to deal with this after the year. It's now after the year. And here comes Shams to say, we haven't talked in months. Bob said he wants to handle this after the year. And so here we are. So these are my 2 sentences of my report on Bob Myers.
And this is sourced.
Report number 1. Bob Myers has been offered an incredibly lucrative contract by the Golden State Warriors. An incredibly lucrative contract by the Golden State Warriors.
You said it twice, and
That's right.
I believed it both times. And I'm not, do I look surprised?
No. Second sentence. The idea that Bob has made his decision and that Bob is very likely gone is being wildly overstated.
Overstated. So Bob is sitting on a big offer from Joe Lacob, which I believe to be the case because Joe Lacob has never done anything on the cheap. Hello, Chase Center is on the phone in terms of that's not a rinky-dink little podunk. Hey, we're just going to move to the Cow Palace, guys, if you don't mind. We'll slap a couple of hoops up and call it good. He's never done anything on the cheap. And the other piece is this is a big decision. And the end of an NBA season is exhausting. And if Bob is looking at and let's just call it 3 years and $40 million. Steiny threw out that number, which would make him the highest paid. And I believe that Joe's offer would make him the highest paid, as he should be, by the way.
I mean, the general manager of a dynasty.
So Bob is looking at a bag alert, a major bag alert, versus, do I really want to go through this another year? Because this year was exhausting, I'm sure.
Exhausting.
From the punch through the ouster and everything in between.
Just the job. And I get the perception, and I'm not going to act like I've been a general manager before. I don't know what goes into it every day. I do know that from the outside, fans look at sports and everybody thinks it's just a big candy store. Everybody makes millions of dollars. Everybody's happy all the time. It's just, oh my gosh, you got a game 3 nights a week? What the hell are you doing the other 4 nights? You just sitting there making pasta, maybe watching the NBA on TNT.
Playing with the ESPN trade machine.
These dudes.
Right.
That'd be
what
amazing.
if I.
That sounds like a great YouTube channel, actually. There's Bob Myers on the trade machine. Just like, what if we... That would be a ton of fun. What can I get
for Steph? Just playfully.
Like, these people, just look at them. Look at them. Okay? You can see it in their eyes. They're exhausted. They're exhausted, and it's the way they're wired. I'm not asking anyone to feel sorry for them. They'll be the first to tell you they get the most amazing jobs in the world, and they are a ton of fun, and they're rewarding, and my gosh, they're lucrative. All of the good things in life, but they're traveling all over the world. They are in a fishbowl. There is stress. There is movement. There are constant fires to be putting out. There's a draft and scouting, and it is exhausting. And sometimes, especially at the end of, not that it's over yet, but the end of a dynasty run, a dynastic run, at the end of that, sometimes people want a break. I think that's all that's going on. I know how this works. Everybody, when you see something like this, and this is my point yesterday, if only Bonte and Joe had been listening, is that if you don't tell your story, other people will tell your story for you. Now, sometimes that's all you can do.
Sometimes you tell your story like you did, and then other people tell your story anyway, and maybe they get it wrong.
Yeah, exactly, which more on that coming up later. But point is that's the way this stuff works. So if Bob does just want to go to a quiet room and make a decision, we are all going to go, oh my gosh, he's thinking about leaving the Warriors? He must hate Joe Lacob.
Yeah.
Joe Lacob must be lowballing him.
Exactly.
He's tired of dealing with Draymond. He's been offered something by the Clippers. I saw that one last night.
For sure.
The Clippers GM is looking at it. He wants to go back to L.A. Look, sure, any of this could be on the table.
Yeah, but it's not.
But it's not.
I've said all along, it's either he wants to do it and Joe Lacob will pay him to do it, or he doesn't want to do it, and that's fine.